Jesus was a myth. A lot of people can and do say this, but the problem is, well, there are problems with that sort of claim. First of all, Jesus is the most well-established figure in ancient history. Anything over 1,000 years old would pale in comparison to the evidence that we have of this lone carpenter who was executed within 30 years of his short life. Now, this event was confirmed by friends and foes, not only of his life, but his teachings as well. And based on that fact alone, we essentially debunk this by noting it's hard to die if you were never born. But building on that as well, the only scholar who holds this position that isn't an internet troll is a man by the name of Richard Carrier, who was treated by his fellow atheist scholars along the same lines as a Holocaust denier, because if you're consistent with his level of historical criticism, he couldn't prove his own existence, let alone the existence of anyone before or after him. And also note as well, if you're going to consistently apply those same standards about history in dismissing Jesus' existence as a myth. And note, this is what we're addressing. If you say that aspects of Jesus' life are mythical, that's different. But if you're saying that Jesus never existed, you'd have to throw out history as a study entirely if you're going to hold those kinds of standards. For example, as an American, I can note one of our most well-known presidents was Abraham Lincoln. And if I'm going to make the claim that Abraham Lincoln existed, these are the sort of objections that you're going to hear, if we're consistent with these standards. The sources about Abraham Lincoln are too late, since they record his death after the death had already happened. The speeches have similarities to other writings before him. For example, the Emancipation Proclamation has a lot of parallels in noting it was just the Gettysburg Address, noting that as well, was essentially just a study on the book of Jeremiah, so clearly just a forgery. Also note, these couldn't possibly be historical references due to these parallels. It must be proof of borrowing to build up this fake figure in history. All the people who referenced Abraham Lincoln either were biased since they claimed to be his supporters and can't be trusted to give an accurate account, or they never knew him personally and couldn't have known anything about him in any significant way. Not to mention modern embellishments of the life of Abraham Lincoln have been made, like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. This is proving that it was all a myth to begin with. It couldn't possibly be that people writing about his life and intentionally advertising it as fiction hundreds of years after the fact didn't intend to be taken seriously, especially with that kind of title. That's simply not true scholarship. And in an attempt to harmonize evidence, we need to be consistent. So, simply put, if you want to address the issue of Jesus never existed, understand that the only thing you need to prove is his death. You don't even have to go to a resurrection, because if he died, that probably means he was born at some point. And if you're going to build beyond that, understand that's a whole other matter entirely. But make sure that you're establishing your understanding of the question in line with the answer. If you answer a question nobody asked, Jesus never rose from the dead, that's another matter. We'd have to discuss the supernatural. But if someone makes a claim about history that more atheist scholars than oftentimes these websites give credit for are willing to acknowledge that simple fact, you don't have to play a harder game than they've set the rules for. All you need to prove, as far as Jesus' death is concerned, is that atheist scholars acknowledge 1 Corinthians 15 verses 3 through 7 as one of the earliest creeds that we have reporting any religious following or document in all of ancient history. Dated within months of the first Easter, it reports that Jesus not only died, but by extension must have been born at some point. Thank you for listening to this study, and if you need clarification as to how to properly employ or understand what it means to not answer questions that you haven't been asked, but answer the question you've actually been asked, that all you need to do is prove Jesus' death. Understand this is not a denial of his resurrection, but addressing the claim as it is. Don't make things harder for yourself, and be sure to engage. I'll be happy to clarify these points with you if you so desire. If this was helpful for you, I encourage you to share this information, not necessarily the video, but the information you've received in it, and I'll look forward to talking to you again next time with more of these objections. Until the next time we have the chance to talk, God bless you.